In this video today, President Trump gets his way with Zelensky. Also, a federal judge has ruled in favor of the Trump administration to gut USAID's workforce. And breaking news, President Trump has removed the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General C.Q. Brown. We're going to get to all this in this video. But let's first hear John Bolton make a fool of himself as he tries to comment on what Trump is doing wrong with Zelensky.
Why do you think Trump is attacking Zelensky like this, and what kind of damage could this be doing?
Well, he's attacking Zelensky because he doesn't like him. And he hasn't liked him since the famous perfect phone conversation in the summer of 2019 about basically threatening to withhold U.S. security assistance to Ukraine unless Zelensky and his government cooperated in the hunt for Hillary Clinton's computer server and all the other things in that big bowl of spaghetti that people like Rudy Giuliani were feeding to Trump. On the other hand, Trump believes he and Vladimir Putin are good friends.
I don't believe I have to explain why John Bolton is irrelevant for a lot of you guys out there who are aware of him in the first place. But secondly, what's interesting is that while he's making these statements on CNN, at the same time, it is being reported that Zelensky will sign the agreement. And this is per Daily Mail. They write, Zelensky surrenders to Trump and will sign mineral deal within hours. What is the bottom line here? Well, Trump appears to have won a trade standoff with Zelensky, who will sign a deal granting the U.S. access to Ukraine's critical minerals. The deal, initially rejected by Zelensky, aims to satisfy Washington's demands for a peace settlement between Ukraine and Russia. Zelensky's erratic behavior and rejection of the deal angered Trump, leading to a war of words and threats to withdraw U.S. funding. Now, before I give you my overall opinion, I want you to hear from Marco Rubio first. Earlier today, where he discussed why President Trump said what he said about Zelensky in regards to calling him a dictator. Here it is.
When President Trump posts that President Zelensky is a dictator without elections, what are you thinking?
I think President Trump is very upset at President Zelensky, and in some cases, and rightfully so. Look, number one, Joe Biden had frustrations with Zelensky. People shouldn't forget it. There are newspaper articles out there about how he cursed at him in a phone call because Zelensky, instead of saying thank you for all your help, is immediately out there messaging what we're not doing or what he's not getting. I think the second thing is, frankly, I was personally very upset because we had a conversation with President Zelensky, the vice president and I, three of us. And we discussed this issue about the mineral rights. And we explained to them, look, we want to be in a joint venture with you, not because we're trying to steal from your country, but because we think that's actually a security guarantee. If we're your partner in an important economic endeavor, we get to get paid back some of the money the taxpayers have given, close to $200 billion. And it also, now we have a vested interest in the security of Ukraine. And he said, sure, we want to do this deal. It makes all the sense in the world. The only thing is I need to run it through my legislative process. They have to approve it. I read 2 days later that Zelensky's out there saying, I rejected the deal. I told him, no way, that we're not doing that. Well, that's not what happened in that meeting. So you start to get upset by somebody. We're trying to help these guys.
All right, so that's what Marco Rubio had to say. Very good interview there. And here's the overall point I want to make to you. If you haven't learned this by now when it comes to President Trump, then you are too emotionally involved when it comes to every word that comes out of his mouth, okay? When he is going on social media and making the statements he's making, you have to understand there's a method to his madness. Sometimes the statements are exactly what they say, and he means them. And then sometimes the statements are an effort to get what he wants in a negotiation or a certain outcome. And the problem here with Democrats and definitely the media is as soon as he puts out statements, they're on it, right? They have to react and they have to take him at his word. And it's like they haven't learned that the guy did write the book, The Art of the Deal. Now, let's actually hear from President Trump on this particular issue.
So we're going to either sign a deal or there's going to be a lot of problems with them. So we're going to sign a deal to get security because we have to do that. We're spending our treasure. They're spending their blood. They are. And they're very brave in every way you can imagine. But we are spending our treasure on a country that's very, very far away. And it's okay, but we have to be treated the same as Europe is being treated. Europe gets their money back. Europe is basically giving nothing because they get it back in the form of a loan, and it's a guaranteed loan. We don't get our money back, and we're losing. I mean, we don't want to do that anymore. So we're signing an agreement, hopefully in the next fairly short period of time, that will assure us that we'll get $400 or $500 billion back. We're in there for $300 billion.
Now, here is the announcement from Zelensky. This was 4 hours ago, where he said, today, Ukrainian and U.S. teams are working on a draft agreement between our governments. This agreement can add value to our relations. What matters most is getting the details right to ensure it truly works. I look forward to a just results. Now, here's the other thing I'm really interested to find out from the left-wing media. As soon as this agreement is signed, will they applaud President Trump? Because we know nothing happened under Biden except death, destruction, fraud, waste, and abuse. I mean, there was zero progress under Biden's term as this war continued to just chug on. I mean, so will they give President Trump his due? He's only 1 month into his presidency, by the way. All right, so this takes us to the next story. Kash Patel, the new FBI director, completed a swearing-in ceremony today, and he gave a speech. And his message was, one, targeted at the media and at people who wish to do harm to American citizens. Let's take a look at that now.
I know the media's in here, and if you have a target, that target's right here. It's not the men and women at the FBI. You've written everything you possibly can about me that's fake, malicious, slanderous, and defamatory. Keep it coming, bring it on. But leave the men and women of the FBI out of it. They deserve better. And for those of you who think that there's going to be a two-tier system of justice, not with Attorney General Bondi. There's a singular system of justice for all Americans, and there will be accountability. And the reason that this mission is so important is simply the following. 100,000 people last year raped. 100,000 people died of CCP fentanyl overdose and heroin. 17,000 homicides. Violent crime is out of control. We cannot have a United States of America where that is acceptable.
He's absolutely correct. We cannot have a United States where crime is running rampant. But according to the legacy media, crime is not an issue. The crime rate is lower than it's ever been, even though we've done plenty of videos showing you how jurisdictions, police departments are not actually reporting their numbers to the FBI. So the actual number being reported on shows that it is low, but really it's not. For an example, New York City, which has seen record crime, is not reporting to the FBI. So there's that. And I hope that he's able to fix that as well. Now, here's what President Trump also had to say about Kash Patel.
Talk to us about your reaction to him getting sworn in and the fact that many agents across the country are concerned that they will be fired en masse for simply just doing their jobs.
No, I think the agents are very happy about Kash. In fact, the agents led the charge for Kash. One of the reasons I loved Kash and wanted to put him in is because of the respect the agents had for him. I think he's going to be, I think he'll go down as the best ever at that position. And it turned out he was very easy to get approved. You know, I was not sure. He's a tough guy, strong guy. He has his opinions, and I wasn't sure. He turned out to be he went very smoothly. I don't know if he's in the room now. He's going to be in the room very shortly. Where is he? Oh, good. I'm saying the right thing. I have to be careful. I can't speak too badly about him. I better be careful.
Now, we already know how President Trump feels about Kash Patel. But what about Adam Schiff? Because he did speak out, and he looks shook. I mean, he looks pretty much scared because Kash Patel is going to come after him. And for all those people that are like, well, this is vengeance, it's retribution. Listen, if Adam Schiff broke the law, he should be investigated. He should be held accountable. Because I know if it was the other way around, that's what he would be doing to President Trump. So let's listen to what Adam Schiff had to say.
Kash Patel is the guy you go to when everybody else says, no, I won't do it. It's too immoral. It's too unethical. It's too unlawful. He's the guy. That's why he was chosen. You rise to the level of your utter sycophancy in the Trump administration. But here's the thing. I've worked with the FBI for decades, ever since I was a federal prosecutor. They're the premier law enforcement agency. Only in Trump world, a world in which you pardon hundreds of people for beating police officers, and then you purge the FBI agents that pursued them, only in that kind of world does a Kash Patel become FBI director. But that's the upside-down, terrible world we're living in at this moment. And Kash Patel has now been given a 10-year term as FBI director. I cannot imagine the damage that he can do if he's given a decade to do it.
Dvory here with an urgent retirement warning. Trump's return is set to usher in a new golden age. The growing trade tensions and China's ruthless attack on the dollar have rattled the markets. That's why Warren Buffett just dumped $133 billion in stocks, and so too have Jeff Bezos, Larry Page, and even Jamie Dimon, CEO of the world's largest bank. That's why thousands of informed IRAs, 401k savers are now shielding their savings with gold. And the experts at Colonial Metals Group are the only folks I trust to help you do the exact same, especially now after Rich Dad Poor Dad author Robert Kiyosaki warned of a coming market crash. So visit freegoldguide.com/Dvory or call 1-800-757-5158 and you'll get a free gold guide on how to bulletproof your wealth with gold tax free. Plus, see if you qualify for a free home safe and as much as $7,500 in free silver. Once again, that's freegoldguide.com/Dvory or call 1-800-757-5158 right now. Yeah, but of course he's not telling you the damage that Christopher Wray did, where he ordered FBI agents to raid Mar-a-Lago. And obviously this was against the advice that his leadership gave him in regards to doing something like that. That's number one. Number two, not to mention the terrorists that have been setting up shop inside this country due to the open border crisis. There was really no answer for that either. I mean, so I'm not too sure they have any credibility as it pertains to whether or not Kash Patel is qualified and whether or not he should have been placed as the FBI director. At the end of the day, they've already shot themselves in the foot. And here's another story where you're going to continue to see the Democrats shoot themselves in the foot because the federal judge just ruled today that the Trump administration can go ahead and get rid of USAID. He can do the mass firings. Now, for so long, Democrats were crying that this was unconstitutional. In fact, what he's doing is a constitutional crisis, right? Now, here's what the article says. The decision comes after the judge had temporarily paused efforts to place thousands of USAID employees on administrative leave following a lawsuit by labor groups. And here is the actual sticking point. And this is really in regards to a lot of these lawsuits. The same principle is going to continue to apply in most of them. Quote, plaintiffs have presented no irreparable harm they or their members are likely to suffer from the hypothetical future dissolution of USAID. And it is not clear why the speed of proceedings and the relevant agencies would be insufficient to address the only actions that have already happened and are presently ripe for review. So essentially what they did is they overreacted like they always do. And instead of actually following the process the right way, they immediately took this to court. And now they're losing. Now, here's what Fox News, a legal correspondent, had to say about a lot of these cases.
You know, Doge got a bunch of legal wins over the last 7 or 8 days. And I would say why they're winning is in part because the plaintiffs who are suing the Trump administration, they're doing a couple of things, and this is why they're failing. They're skipping over the normal process. They're going right to the courts. And so in a lot of these cases, there's an administrative appeals process. They're just ignoring that. They're going to the courts, and the courts don't have proper jurisdiction because for them to interfere in some of these at this stage would be to interfere in the executive branch's ability to do their job, which is undercutting the separation of powers. The other category as to why these plaintiffs are failing right now is because they're not demonstrating any harm. You know, they're saying the sky is falling, we're losing funding and all of this stuff. But in order to get a temporary block of an order that you don't like, you've got to demonstrate harm. And you've got to point to the fact that, you know, look, the funding's being cut, harm has occurred, and by the way, they're breaking the law with respect to this funding. And they're not doing that.
Now, of course, that's what one side is saying. So why don't we hear the other side? Because their perception of what's happening is that they're winning. And I'm talking about the Democrats. So here's Jamie Raskin on CNN claiming that they are doing the right thing, that this is working, and that they will be successful at stopping Trump. Watch.
I mean, I think there have been some victories for the Trump administration, labor unions that have requested restraining orders. I don't doubt that you're
the Boston case you're referring to, Judge O'Toole in Boston found that the workers have standing, the union doesn't have standing in that court. So they're winning on a couple of procedural issues like this. But on any of them that go to the question, for example, of whether Elon Musk can take possession of the privacy data of 300 million American citizens, we're winning on that Treasury case. We're winning on the case with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Those people cannot be sacked en masse and the CFPB defunded and all of the operations entities and activities be absorbed in the Department of Treasury. It's becoming obvious to the American people that Elon Musk and Donald Trump are not opponents of corruption. They are agents of corruption.
Now, of course, he's outraged by some of these rulings that have happened in the courtroom because they are significant losses to the Democrats because that's all they can do. Now, if they've been outraged about that, they're going to be outraged about this next story, which is breaking news that President Trump has removed the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Charles Brown Jr., to be correct. He is an African-American, so you already know what the media is going to run with here, that Trump is racist, that he just fired a black man, and he doesn't care about military individuals.
Fox News alert, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Charles C.Q. Brown, just got fired. President Trump announcing it on Truth Social, quote, "He is a fine gentleman and an outstanding leader, and I wish a great future for him and his family." And his replacement's already been named. 47 nominating Air Force Lieutenant General Dan Raisin Kane, who Trump says was instrumental in the complete annihilation of the ISIS caliphate. And we expect many more firings at the Pentagon. We'll keep you updated.
Now, of course, there's no reason to overreact when it comes to this decision. It's in the authority of the president to nominate whoever he wants to be to serve as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. This is not unconstitutional. He did not break the law, and I'm not meaning to insult your intelligence, but I guarantee you tomorrow, the entire news cycle will be about him removing this general because he's black. I mean, that's just really what it is. Now, of course, CNN is already ahead of it. Here's Anderson Cooper interviewing Rahm Emanuel, who looks like he's almost going to come to tears as he reacts to this announcement.
About where the armed forces of the United States was after Vietnam. You look at the quality of people and the choices and optionality we have, a president has for a head of Air Force, Navy, Marines, Army, Coast Guard. It is incredible depth of talent. It's a true success story of the United States rebuilding this armed forces from the low point to where it is today. I don't know the case that somebody got passed over. That doesn't mean you take somebody at this critical juncture where America's being tested and you remove them. And I think it's going to have not just a consequence and stop with General Brown. I think it's going to have a consequences with everybody else in the leadership. That's what I'm worried about when, in fact, on the heels of a week in which heads are spinning, as your question indicated about Ukraine, heads are spinning around the globe. And now we double down on the message and theme of unsteadiness at a very point where people want the United States to project strength and steadiness because, again, that old axiom is true. Weakness invites aggression. That's what's fearsome, and that's what's worrisome right now.
And I've got 45 seconds left. There are rumors that Pete Hegseth, Defense Secretary, might fire the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Brown, and maybe even the head of the Navy, the admiral, female head of the Navy. What will be the reaction from colleagues?
I mean, we've always had an apolitical military, people who have served and risked their life way more than Mr. Hegseth, and have put themselves on the line without a political affiliation. So I think it's deeply disturbing for our apolitical military, and it's hard to miss that the chairman is African American and the secretary is female. I mean, those are things that are hard to.
I just wonder, do they ever stop to hear themselves? Because he just said weakness invites aggression. Isn't that what happened over the past 4 years under Joe Biden's leadership? I just find it so interesting that they're continuing to be so premature with their judgments as it pertains to every decision that Trump is making, and we're only 1 month in. Why don't you wait for the results to roll in and then judge him accordingly based on that? And it's also being reported that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth fired Lisa Franchetti, the chief of naval operations. So you have a black person being fired, and now you have a woman being fired. I'm telling you guys right now, I'm calling it. The media is going to lose their mind, and they're going to say that Trump is racist, and what he's doing is going to put the readiness of the military in jeopardy. Again, guys, I wonder if they hear themselves. And of course, they're also stating that because of these firings at the Pentagon, that this is a point where the Department of Defense is no longer a place for black people. It's no longer a place for women. And this is a lawless purge. Hear it for yourself.
Well, my reaction is that the Trump Pentagon does not welcome black people. They're discouraging black people from joining. There's no home for women. We know also the CNO of the Navy, the Chief Naval Operations Officer, who was a woman, was also fired tonight. The commander of the
Air Force Vice Chief. We actually have the list up there. The Air Force Vice Chief was fired. The Lieutenant General was also fired, and then 3 JAGs were also fired.
Yes, so there was a purge of the lawyers, the senior lawyers, and the message there is that there's no rule of law left. It's a lawless purge.
Now, let me get your guys' reaction in the comment section below to the first story we talked about in this video, and that is Zelensky bending the knee to President Trump, okay? I just don't understand how we have spent $200 billion and we're never going to get that money back. So I think this is the least that Zelensky can do as a thank you to the United States of America, because we know Europe was smart. They're going to get their money back. So let me know what your reaction is to that in the comment section below. Now, in this video, we talked about President Trump letting go the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and how much backlash he's going to receive as a result. But will we see the same backlash from Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, who removed her fire chief? Yeah, she is clearly placing blame on other people and not herself. If you missed out on that story and others from earlier today, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.